All right, welcome to Hoops Tonight, presented by FanDuel here at The Volume. Happy Monday, everybody. I hope all of you guys had an incredible weekend. Today, we have a show later in the day where we're going to be going over some games from the weekend. But in this video, we're hitting on the first trade of the NBA season. The Los Angeles Lakers acquiring Rui Hachimura from the Washington Wizards for Kendrick Nunn and 3 second-round picks. The trade that Lakers fans have been begging for 2 years now. The big athletic forward to recoup the size and athleticism the Lakers lost in the Russell Westbrook trade. You guys know the drill. Before we get started, subscribe to the Volume's YouTube channel so you don't miss any more of our videos. Follow me on Twitter at _JasonLT so you guys don't miss any show announcements. Then last but not least, if for whatever reason you guys miss one of these videos and you can't get back over to YouTube to finish, you can find them wherever you get your podcasts under Hoops Tonight. So, as I've consistently said over the course of the last couple years, I don't blame Russell Westbrook for the predicament that the Lakers are in. I blame the Russell Westbrook trade. In LeBron's never-ending pursuit for a real playmaker that he can play alongside, he pushed for Russell Westbrook. And the Lakers front office, Rob Pelinka, wasn't smart enough to see through the idea that Russ and the terrible off-ball fit and the defensive shortcomings and the chasing rebounds at the expense of leaving spot-up shooters open and the poor decision-making and the issues in crunch time and all those different things, Rob didn't see any of that. And so he acquiesced to LeBron's demand. And in order to match salaries, they had to send out Kyle Kuzma, a big athletic forward, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, one of the better role player two guards in the league, who's having a great season with the Denver Nuggets this year, and they took back more salary than they sent out in that deal, and in the ensuing crunch, they had to let go of Alex Caruso. At least they didn't have to, but it was part of the reason why they decided to let Alex Caruso go, a 6'6", great defensive guard. So they lost a ton of perimeter size in that trade, and that loss of that size coupled with the clunkiness of the Russ fit is why the Lakers have had such a disastrous 2 years. Because in the 2021 season, even though LeBron got hurt, even though Anthony Davis got hurt, they still were a very good team because they had the core, the role players from that 2020 championship squad. One of the most underrated things about the 2020 Lakers is, yes, LeBron James and Anthony Davis were both top 5 players in the world during basically that entire season, but they were also huge at every single perimeter position, and all of that perimeter size was what anchored around LeBron James and Anthony Davis, one of the best defenses that I've ever seen, the defense of the 2020 Lakers. So, ever since then, Laker fans, myself as someone who covered the Lakers during that first season with Russell Westbrook before I started with the Volume, and all of the people that I became friends with when I was covering the Lakers, everyone was consistent. Like, they need a forward. They need somebody that's between 6'6" and 6'9", that's a good athlete, that's at least capable of doing some things offensively, that at least gives the Lakers a chance to hold up in some of the physical confrontations that take place on the basketball court. Way too frequently, it was LeBron and Anthony Davis and then a bunch of short guys. And those short guys were all fighting for their lives against taller, more athletic players. So the Rui Hachimura trade directly addresses that specific need. What I want to do today is I want to look at this trade from 3 angles. I want to look at Rui on the offensive end of the floor, Rui on the defensive end of the floor, and his specific fit with the Lakers. I spent a ton of time this morning watching film on Rui to familiarize myself with his game even more than I have over the years. So I'm excited to share all that with you guys. So starting on the offensive end, and we have to start with spot-up situations because this is, looking at Rui off the ball is the more important element to this, because realistically, even if he's in a closing group, that closing group's probably going to be Dennis Schroeder at the point guard, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis. Those 3 guys are going to be doing the lion's share of the offensive creation. So it's more important to look at what Rui does off the ball. Now, the biggest concern I have with Rui and his specific fit with the Lakers is he is not a good spot-up player right now. This season, he's averaging 0.92 points per spot-up possession. There are 163 players in the league that have logged at least 100 spot-up possessions, and Rui ranks 140th out of 163. Now, a lot of it is his perimeter shots not falling, particularly from the three-point line, the way it did last year. Last year, He averaged 1.01 points per possession in spot-up situations, much more closer to average as opposed to the below-average rate that he's hitting this year. And it really comes down to that perimeter shot. He's shooting just 31% this year on spot-up jumpers. There's a little bit of a hitch in his shot, which disrupts the energy transfer. When we talk about fluidity and energy transfer in a jump shot, there needs to be a very smooth transition of power from your dip in your legs through your gather when you're bringing the ball either from the dribble or from the catch to the shooting pocket, flowing all the way through the snap of the wrist. And if there's any sort of break in that, then you have to reset your power level when you're at the top of the shot. And so you see a lot of times with Rui, Laker fans, you'll notice this when he's playing with the Lakers this year. You'll notice a lot of spot-up threes if he doesn't have a ton of space. You'll notice that hitch becomes a problem to where he doesn't get enough lift on the shot, and then the shot ends up badly missing short, usually off the front of the rim or skittering off the side of the rim. So that's the biggest area that's hurting him in spot-up situations right now, a little bit of a hitch in his shot. Ironically, in transition situations, he's actually shooting a lot better, and I think a big part of that is just when he's sprinting up the floor on the left wing or on the right wing and he catches and elevates, that forward momentum is helping him get the ball to the rim. So hopefully, over the years, Adrian Wojnarowski reported that the Lakers plan on extending him. Hopefully, Phil Handy can work with him on that and kind of help him with his fluidity, so that's less of a problem. But him only hitting 31% of his spot-up jumpers this year is a huge problem, specifically in his spot-up situations. And then he's also struggling a little bit to finish at the rim in traffic. So when he's attacked a closeout this year and tried to finish at the rim, Rui's just 11 for 26 at the rim, which is obviously not good. In general, he's a little bit slow with the basketball in his hands. So like he pump fakes on a lot of his spot up possessions. And instead of making a quick decision, like just ripping through to the right or ripping through to the left, he'll pump fake and then put the ball on the floor and then try to like mix up off the dribble. Now, to be clear, he's shooting really well on his dribble jump shots in the mid-range. He's got a very good one dribble pull-up or two dribble pull-up, especially going to his left. And so because of that, he's actually pumped up his spot-up numbers above where you would think. If you were shooting 11 for 26 at the rim and literally 31% on spot-up jumpers, you'd think he's, going to be atrocious in spot-up situations. But he's 18 for 40 on pull-up jump shots in the mid-range out of spot-up situations this year. So since he's around 50% there, that's kind of pumping up those numbers there. So specifically in spot-up situations, it's going to be a little bit clunky. But glass half full, the Lakers are already weak in spot-up shooting as it is. So I don't think it's necessarily going to hurt them there. And that one dribble pull-up stuff, that's high-level closeout attacking, which specifically in the playoffs when teams really shut off the rim in rotation and take away the easy threes, having a guy that can put the ball on the floor and knock down a 15-foot jump shot will help the Lakers rescue some possessions. So I think even though he's not quite as good spotting up and getting to the rim, he's a little bit better in the mid-range and creating for himself off the dribble. So I think it kind of adds out to being kind of a wash offensively compared to some of the other options that the Lakers have in the rotation. And one other note, his spot-up opportunities in LA are going to be better than they were in Washington. With the way teams guard LeBron and Russ and AD, it's borderline comical the way that they pack the paint, dig down from driving lanes. He's going to get those wide open shots that allow his hitch that he has in his jumper to be less of a problem. So I actually think he'll have a better spot-up season in LA. Again, we're at 0.92 points per possession. It'll be interesting to see how that ticks up with the Lakers. He is a very good cutter. There are two different kinds of wings in the NBA, in my opinion. There's like the skinny, rangy, perimeter-oriented wing. Think like Jaden McDaniels from the Minnesota Timberwolves. But then there's like the stronger, bigger, wing that can hang in some of the interior battles. Think like Aaron Gordon from the Denver Nuggets. To me, that's kind of what Rui Hachimura is. The skinny guys are usually more skilled, but they struggle in some of the physical areas of the game. The bigger guys are usually less skilled, but they can do all, they can even play a little small ball center for you if you need. They have a lot more versatility in terms of the physical areas of the game. And that's kind of what Rui is. One of the big ways you'll see that offensively is as a cutter, because in order to cut to the rim and finish effectively, it's hard to finish around the trees. And you are getting bumped, because teams train you to chuck cutters as they're running around the lane, like hit him with the forearm real quick or something like that. So having a dude like Rui, who's literally massive, 6'8", with a 7'2" wingspan and 230 pounds, he can cut into the lane and take that contact and finish it around the rim really quickly. And then he also has that really nice catch and shoot 15-footer. And so he's getting about a bucket every single game, just flashing to the high post for quick pull-up jump shots or flashing to the charge circle for quick little finishes in the lane. That's going to be very valuable with the Lakers because of their post-up heavy offense, especially when Anthony Davis gets back. LeBron in the post, Anthony Davis in the post. Teams are zoning up over on the strong side of the floor. Having a guy who can have success as a cutter is very important. Rui this year, 1.52 points per possession when he cuts. Among 157 players who have registered at least 25 cut possessions this year, Rui is 21st out of 157. So he's been a very good cutter this year. He's also very good in transition, like we mentioned earlier. He's shooting his three ball much better in transition, especially when he runs the left and right wings. Not great when he has the ball in his hands. He's not a great ball handler, not a great decision maker. So his transition possessions when he pushes by himself have not been pretty, but he shouldn't have to do that much with the Lakers. When he just runs to the front of the rim or runs to the wings, he's hitting shots and he's finishing. So with the Lakers and how fast they like to play and how they hunt those transition opportunities, I think he's going to help a lot there. So with what he brings in transition, with what he brings as a cutter, and what he brings with his ability to rescue possessions, I think it's going to be an aggregate slight upgrade offensively compared to what some of their other options are. In terms of self-creation, which won't really matter because he's a role player on the Lakers, but he's bad in pick and roll, 0.87 points per possession. Again, not a great decision maker or ball handler. Pretty solid in ISO, 27 points on 24 possessions, and okay in the post, 46 points on 47 possessions. Again, a lot of like dribble in your left hand, hard dribble to his left, hit with your right shoulder, push off, step back, knock down that 15 to 17 footer. That's kind of his go-to move there. And he does make that at a high clip. And again, that'll help the Lakers rescue some possessions. Again, so kind of tying off offensively, not a ton to get excited about with Rui, but I do think it's a slight upgrade over some of the other options in the aggregate. And really what we're about to get to is what matters, because the areas to get most excited about with Rui are what he's going to help with the Lakers in rebounding situations and on the defensive end of the floor. Now, he's a career just 7 rebounds per 36 minutes, which is not great. But I look at it more from a slotting perspective. He's not going to dominate games as a rebounder the way some of the other really athletic wings in the league are, like a Jared Vanderbilt, for instance, right, or an Aaron Gordon. But he will slot everybody in matchups that make more sense. And I'll give you an example. Let's say that the Lakers are playing against the Warriors and Anthony Davis is back and he's healthy, or we'll even look at it from the standpoint if LeBron's playing center. If AD's battling with Kevon Looney and LeBron James is battling with Draymond Green, the Lakers get into these awkward positions where it's like, okay, we got to do something with Andrew Wiggins. Well, how about we put Lonnie Walker on him because he's a freak athlete and maybe he'll be able to jump with Andrew Wiggins. But they'll end up losing that matchup anyway because Lonnie will have to play impossibly hard just to even try to keep it close to a wash. And physically, he's just overmatched in that matchup. And so down the roster, those 1, 2, 3 positions on the floor, every single person is punching above their weight in terms of physical matchups. And so when you put a guy like Rui out there, if he can battle with Draymond or battle with Wiggins and LeBron takes the other guy, now all of a sudden you take Lonnie Walker and it's like, hey, now you're guarding Clay or you're guarding Jordan Poole. And now Lonnie's athleticism is a differentiator. Now, instead of Lonnie needing his athleticism just to compete with a bigger athlete, now it's the differentiator between him and the smaller guard that he's going against. That slot, we talk a ton about slotting on this show, but in terms of versatility on both offense and on the offensive end and the defensive end of the floor, the Lakers' lack of a real forward has put them in janky positions nonstop over the last couple of years. And so having Rui should help them considerably in rebounding situations. And he is, again, 7'2" wingspan, 6'8". He will help them grabbing the occasional contested rebound as well. Then you can even imagine LeBron at center lineups, or if they're playing with Wenyen Gabriel at center with LeBron, having a guy like Rui out there, again, just makes the matchups make more sense. And then on the defensive end of the floor, Rui is unlike any defender the Lakers have had. since LeBron and Anthony Davis came to the Lakers. I mean, like when AD came, Brandon Ingram went out, so they lost that longer athlete to have alongside LeBron on the wing. Kyle Kuzma, made strides as a help defender with the Lakers. And in certain matchups, he could have some success on the ball. But I think Rui, if I was ranking the three, Kyle Kuzma and Bojan Bogdanovic, the other wing that I wanted the Lakers to target, and Rui Hachimura, Rui is the best defender out of that group by far, in my opinion. It's been one of the things that I've actually had an eye on with Rui over the years. Some of you guys who have been following me for a while remember me during this preseason doing a little video on Rui causing problems on the defensive end of the floor. He always did a really good job guarding LeBron when I was covering the Lakers in the past, and I'd watch him go up against LeBron. He's just huge, 6'8", 7'2", wingspan, 230 pounds, plays physical. He does a lot of reaching and three-quarter fronting on high post entries and stuff like that. Causes a lot of disruption just with his long arms. He doesn't have the quickest feet in the world, so you're not going to see him keep a really quick guard in front, but the Lakers should never need him to do that unless they get into rotation too often, which is a problem for any team in the league because of the type of guards that they have. They're going to have guards to handle the quicker guards around the league with guys like Dennis Schroeder, and who knows who they end up keeping if they end up making another trade, but they've got ball pressure guards. What they needed was somebody that can guard the bigger forwards around the league, and that's what Rui's going to do for them really well. And then if you put him next to LeBron James and Anthony Davis, especially alongside ball pressure guards like Dennis Schroeder or Patrick Beverley, it's going to give the Lakers a daunting defensive presence. The length of the arms just in those first three guys, Anthony Davis and Rui, both over 7-foot wingspans. I think LeBron has over a 7-foot wingspan too. That's 3 7-foot wingspans on the front line. That's going to cause teams a lot of problems. So as we zoom out a little bit in summation, I love this trade for the Lakers. It's not enough. They need to do more, but it's a great first step. First of all, it's really inexpensive. Kendrick Nunn had been playing better, but when Lonnie Walker and Austin Reeves are back in the rotation, Kendrick Nunn's going to be out of the rotation anyway. They didn't have to use a first-round pick. They had to use 3 second-round picks, but they had 7 to spend, so they still have their first-round picks either for after this season or if they want to make a different deal at the deadline. It addressed a very specific need. Perimeter size and athleticism. That will help the Lakers in a lot of defense and rebounding situations overnight. And then last but not least, it gives the Lakers real matchup versatility. And when I talk about the playoffs in the NBA, having real versatility with the styles that you can play helps you in those chess matches. When you play AD at the 5 now, you have the same level of physical, you can be physically imposing on other teams just like you did in 2020. These last 2 years when LeBron James and Anthony Davis were out there, it just wasn't enough because it was always with 3 guards. Now you can recapture that 2020 Lakers, 2021 Lakers. I've got LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and a real forward next to them that give them that physical element that they were missing. You also, in the playoffs, if teams are attacking Thomas Bryant or if Wenyen Gabriel's too skinny, you need to play LeBron at center, it gives you a real forward to put next to LeBron to give those lineups a better fighting chance. And last but not least, he's your primary defender for the star wings around the league. Just no question, end of story. If you're playing Kawhi, if you're playing Paul George, if you're playing Brandon Ingram, if you're playing Luka Doncic in a playoff series, Rui's getting that assignment. And if, or God forbid, they get to the finals, they're going to have to deal with Jason Tatum, Kevin Durant, or Giannis. Rui is getting that assignment. It just doesn't make sense to use LeBron James or Anthony Davis in that type of role, even though they can, because you need their energy on the offensive end. You need Anthony Davis hanging around the rim. So it just makes everything make so much more sense with the Lakers from a game plan standpoint. It's a great first step in the right direction. So I want to give a tip of the cap to Rob Pelinka. I hate that it required them digging this hole, this 22 and 25 hole. I hate that it took almost 2 years for Rob Pelinka to address arguably the most important position in the NBA, but better late than never. And right now, I can actually realistically look at the Lakers and say they're one move away from taking that next step to real title contention. They need a professional jump shooter now. Someone who can run second side actions with a more perimeter focus, unlike the Dennis Schroeder, Russell Westbrook thing where everything is still downhill, just like LeBron James does it. I think Bojan Bogdanovic is the guy they got to look at. If they get Bojan Bogdanovic, that gives you that real second side creation with a perimeter focus, real spot up shooting, continues to help with your perimeter size issues. Another option, I wouldn't like Buddy Hield in a vacuum, but because they got Rui Hachimura to address those size issues, Buddy Hield makes a little bit more sense. And you can imagine lineups with Dennis Schroeder, Buddy Hield, Rui Hachimura, LeBron James, Anthony Davis that would have enough shooting to make things happen on the offensive end of the floor. So they need to make one more move. But if they do, if they get a real professional jump shooter alongside this existing group, I would vault the Lakers into the conversation with Denver, Golden State, and Memphis as the real contenders out west. Right now, I just think it's those three, but I think the Lakers have a real chance to enter into that conversation if they make one more trade. And for the people who think that's crazy, again, I will remind you, the Lakers have the 8th best record in all of basketball since their 2-10 start. Despite LeBron James and Anthony Davis missing significant chunks of games, and despite the Lakers having serious issues closing games because of personnel shortcomings. LeBron James is playing like an MVP. Anthony Davis was playing like an MVP before his injury. I would urge you not to take the Lakers for granted. They still have work to do. They need to make a trade. They need to stay healthy. They have a lot more question marks than the teams above them, but they have the requisite pieces, if things go right, to contend for a title in a real serious way. All right, guys, that's all I have for right now. We will be back later tonight with a video breaking down some more games from the weekend. I appreciate your guys' support, and I'll see you in a little bit.